and you go on and close off your amateur career, become pro. What was it like that first night before your pro debut? You were in the locker room, before going through the drinks for the first time. What was it like for you? What were your thoughts? Were you nervous? Were you scared? Or was it another day in the office for you?
No, I was, a little nervous. First pro fight, no shirt, no headgear, really small gloves. I'm boxing a guy that I think had over 30 fights, and I'm fighting 6 rounds. I'm fighting amateur, 3 minutes. I'm fighting 2 amateur fights in 1 fight. So I'm thinking about the rounds. I'm like, man, I'm fighting 6 rounds, my first pro fight. And this guy got a lot of experience. I'm like, whoa, man, this is what I've been doing my whole life. Go at it. I can't worry about how small the gloves are. I got how small the gloves are. I got small gloves too, so I can hit guys just as much as they hit me. After the bell rings, once you get those little jitters out, I was excited. I'm like, man, this is what it's about. Pro boxing. I'm here now. The goal is to be a champion.
And after your first few, dozen pro fights, I mean, you even started running into guys like Uriah Grant and Burt Cooper, who were a veteran, or, who was a great veteran of the sport and stuff like that, Lucero Castillo. Like fighting these guys, what were some of the thoughts that ran through your head when you're saying, man, I'm finally going to fight these solid guys, these solid competitors, and in the heavyweight division? What were your thoughts there, going into fights like those when you started stepping up to that next level?
Ooh, it was kind of frightening to think about it, but then you have to go and do it. I mean, I was a middleweight in the Olympics, 165 pounds, skinny. I was a lanky Olympian. Now I'm fighting as a professional, kind of chubby, very small heavyweight, fighting these former champions or former title guys that fought for the championship. It was, it was a great experience, but a little fearful too, because I'm like, man, now you step it up to guys that's durable, that I'm not gonna hit with combinations and the referee stop it. I gotta fight. I started hitting these guys with punches. They coming right back with the big punches, and like they say in boxing, there's boxing, and then there's heavyweight boxing. One of the main reasons for me why they say that, I figured it out. I was like, okay, I see, because boxing, if you weigh in at 168 pounds, both the guys, the limit is 168. Heavyweight, there's no limit. And to be a small heavyweight fighting a true heavyweight, you see the major difference, the major punching power, the arm reach, the height. When you're a small heavyweight, you have all these disadvantages. So now I got to really figure out the opponent I'm fighting. I got to break them down and really read them like a book before I can really get into what I want to do, because that one punch factor would change the whole fight very quick. So that's how it was, sums it up.
With all that said, I mean, a few fights up from Castillo, you fight Ika Biabuchi, who was this monster, the true Nigerian nightmare. I mean, he's stuff of legend and stuff that we could only imagine about. You were the last guy to fight him. And, going into that fight, did you think, or before you walked into the ring that day, did you think he was going to be just another heavyweight they were going to cross, or did you know that there was something special about this guy?
Well, to be very honest, I mean, he's special really because he caught me. It's part of heavyweight boxing. If you look at the fight, I was having a lot of fun. I mean, it was so much fun. I weighed 208 pounds. He was 244 pounds. Just heavyweight boxing. And I get caught. I was on the ropes, which I shouldn't have been. I told Max Kellerman, I don't land the ropes with this big guy. He's just another big guy that's going to be swinging. And I get caught. Ike, maybe it went on to, been great. He had a war with David Tua back and forth. Very, very, very close fight. Could have went either way. But when he beat me, since nobody didn't want to fight me at that time, because of my style, now all of a sudden he got elevated to basically going to be the next great champion. It wasn't like he was dominating. Some people had me winning the fight up until that point, or maybe even. It's heavyweight boxing. You get caught with a big punch, and I learned my lesson big time. I'm like, whoa. It wasn't like a stylistic matchup that was hard. It wasn't that. I just got caught. It's part of boxing. And as for me, I fought 5 weeks later. I was suspended, you all for 30 days, but, I mean, I'm like, let's go. It's part of, hey, you lose, get up, get back on that horse and fight.
And actually, that was an excellent point that you brought up. I mean, nowadays, for whatever reasons, it's important for people to stay undefeated. I mean, I'm sure you could probably think of a few guys that lost their first fight, and you don't see them fight for about a year because they're so unmotivated in the sport anymore. They kind of lose interest in the sport just for losing a fight. But like you said, it's kind of how you bounce back. And you just came back and fought, 5 weeks later. And why did you do that? Was there a point they were trying to make after your first loss?
My thing was, I'm a boxer. I was born in boxing. I mean, that's what I do. I'm not going to kill myself over a loss. Oh, well. I mean, it was great being undefeated. Okay. Like Michael Buffer said, somebody old must go. My old went. Get back on that horse and let's come on. I got a goal. Okay. Little minor setback. I got a goal. My goal is to be the best in the world. I don't care who it is. Let's rematch. Since they didn't want to rematch, I'll meet you down the line. But I'm not gonna worry about that. And for guys that worry about losses, any time in your career, you lose, you lose. Learn from it. Get back on that wagon and ride it out. I mean, don't let nothing. I ain't gonna let nothing stop me from it. I didn't think about that loss, honestly. A week after that, I was like, okay, I still got a goal. I want this title. I'm going to support my family. They support me big time, but this is my job. I had a bad day at the job, but I'm going to have a lot of better days after this. So, I mean, I was so motivated and hungry to get back in the mix and to shut people up because people started talking, I told you he wasn't, a heavyweight. I told you he wasn't this, and he can't do that. He's too small. He can't punch. I'm like, okay, I'll show you. Whatever. It's the size of the heart, man. You gotta fight. I mean, I was a different breed when it comes to boxing. Everybody think, I was a finesse guy and run away and, kind of soft. He's good skill. No, I was mentally tough. And that's one thing that got me over more than anything else in my career as far as boxing skills. Mentally, you ain't going to break me. I'm going to fight you to the end. I mean, I fought Vladimir Klitschko the first time. He beat me to a pulp for 12 rounds. I ain't quit. My father wanted to stop the fight. My brother pulled him down because he knew that I'm not going to quit. I keep fighting. People can criticize me and say I'm too small, soft, and all that, but I'll fight you. And I'm willing to fight every single heavyweight in the world. Just take up the challenge. That's all I want. You take up the challenge. If you want a challenge, let's go.
Isn't it sad that nowadays not many people think like that anymore? I mean, I see. I can think of almost any fighter, and and after a loss and how they try to bounce back, and a lot of them aren't the same after their first loss for whatever reasons, man. And it's great to hear you say that because if you talk to fighters and you instill this stuff in fighters, they understand that loss is a part of life, not just of the career of boxing. It's a part of life. You have to get back on your feet and keep going forward. Don't look back.
It's, what did I learn from it? Okay, I'll correct that mistake, but let's go. Let's fight. I mean, guys are so soft in the sport now, and everybody trying to protect, and you got a heavyweight division right now that's just, it's a lot of talent in the heavyweight division right now. And I know people say, well, what happened to the heavyweight division? Let's fight. Let's prove what kind of talent. Everybody's trying to sit on zero. Let's prove it. Let's make matches. Let's fight. They need a night of the young heavyweights just to make matches. Draw these guys out to fight each other. Then we'll see who's at the top. But then you lose, okay, you come back. You get right back in the mix. That's how you do it. It's part of, okay, if you lose twice, get back in the mix. Keep fighting. What you supposed to do? Quit? And then these guys soak over a loss and upset, and then they fade away. Who cares?
Imagine going back to the 70s and telling these guys after a fight, don't fight for a year after that,
Yeah. I mean, you think about that. Taking a year. Come on, man. You still getting over and dealing over a loss. Who cares? Get right back in the ring. Fight. And that's what it's about. And keep working on your game, though. And that's the main thing. A lot of guys just settle. Become one-dimensional. You do the same thing every fight. Nah, work on your game. Work on it. Get better.
Yeah, after a loss,
So,
man, you're supposed to come back like there's a point that you're supposed to prove, and you're supposed to go and do it right away, you know?
Always. Come on. You go right back, you learn from it, go back to the drawing board. Okay, I did this wrong. And it's a style matchup. Okay, that style was hard. So if I fight him again or a similar style, I know what to do. I'll learn from it. But let's go back to fight. Let me get back in a fight, and let's do it so I can get everything back up. And I know some guys, confidence is shattered, especially an undefeated guy. I thought I'd never lose. Dude, you lost an amateur. I mean, a lot of guys lost a lot in amateur.
You know, to back up everything that you're saying, you fight 5 fights within that year, and one of them being Vitaly Klitschko that you brought up, who today, this was April of 2000. Today, this is 13 years later. He's on top of the world right now, along with his brother. Yeah. What was it like getting that particular fight? What was it like to fight Vitaly Klitschko? And last minute, I mean, I think if my memory serves me right, I think you were a replacement for Razor Ruddock, I think.
Razor Ruddock, yep. I give Vitaly Klitschko major respect, utmost respect, man. I'm telling you, he picked me, a guy. Even after the loss of Ike, I'm hearing heavyweights saying that it was a fluke. He got caught with a punch. In the community of the boxers and heavyweights, I'm still the guy that nobody wanted to face. And that's what Michael Buffer called me, the man nobody wanted to face. Nobody wanted to box me. I'm like, this is crazy. I mean, I'm shut out of the game. Vitaly Klitschko picked me on an 8 days notice, confident that, okay, no matter what I fight him, I'll pick this little guy. What's so fearful about him? So to this day, man, I give him much props. The guy can fight. He's more skilled than I thought. You watch him on tape. People say, oh, man, he can't fight. He's not good. I like get in the ring and fight him then. And not only fight him, beat him. It was a whirlwind for me going to Germany on short notice. Another fight where I weighed 208 pounds. I weighed 208 for Ike. A chubby 208 at that. Kind of chubby around the middle. So it was just a whirlwind. And then actually getting in the ring, it was kind of surreal because it was like, wow, I was just at home. And now I had to go get my passport real fast, updated, and then go over to Germany. These crazy workouts where the crowds come around, and it was crazy. Now I see myself in the ring with this giant. I'm like, man, I've never seen him fight before. 28-0, 28 knockouts. My whole thing was survive 4 rounds, and if I survive 4 rounds, I'm in this fight. Just survive the 4 rounds, because that's when I really start getting settled, because I always got to take my time and figure guys out before I can go in there and try to, put hands on them, combinations and stuff. And sure enough, after the 4th round, when I sat down for the 4th round, the German crowd was cheering my name.
And it's crazy to think about. I mean, like you said, it was a last-minute replacement. You're going to Germany, I mean, you're just way out of, being close to home against a guy like Vitaly Klitschko, like you said, that was undefeated and stuff. And, you weren't ready. I mean, like we said, it was a last-minute replacement, and you said you were feeling a little soft, in the middle there.
Yeah.
I mean, and then you win the fight, and you win the WBO version of the heavyweight title. I've always considered you. I've always called you. You said Michael Buffer had a little nickname for you. I've always called you the little engine that could. I mean, that's how I see you, man. I mean, I hope I'm not insulting you there. I hope I'm not insulting you there, man. But that's what I think. Every time I think of you, that's what I think of you, man.
Oh, that's actually really good. I'm gonna use that. That's good.
But I mean, going into that fight and raising that title and beating him in Germany, I mean, what did that mean for you personally? And what were your thoughts, after and raising the belt and being in the locker room and knowing that you had accomplished, man? What did that mean for you?
It was a whirlwind for me. I mean, it was crazy because if you had known how I started my career off, not getting paid, no promoter, fighting in a nightclub from my 3rd fight to my 9th fight, I fought 6 fights in a nightclub, 150 people, and not having my promoter was a local guy that owned a laminating business. And I'm fighting these little small shows, Olympic silver medalists, fighting at home in my hometown with these little small crowds. And I see all my guys from the Olympics and amateurs fighting on ESPN and making their way in boxing. And I thought about all that, all the stuff I had to go through. I was shoveling snow and cutting grass And I take nothing away from people that do that, but I'm supposed to be boxing. And I had to do that to make a little bit of money. My dream was still being champion, but my hardship starting off was hard. I mean, nothing. I had a brand new baby, got married at a young age, and trying to be this boxer and nothing happening for me. And to hold up the WBO belt, man, I just thought about that. That's why I cried after he quit. You see me in the ring, and I cried. I'm like, for real? I was like, for real. This is like surreal. This is not reality. I cannot believe this is happening right now. And it was like, wow. I mean, I was really in shock and just thanking God for the opportunity. And I, like I said, I thank Batali Klitschko for giving me that opportunity to be in the mix with the Klitschkos. Now, I'm in the mix with the Klitschkos and fight because, you got a brother. So, it was just a great time.
And another thing we don't see often, I mean, just 6 months later, you go in there and fight, another tough challenger, which was his brother. But again, I mean, we don't see that often. I mean, again, just 6 months later, you go in there and fight another tough opponent. In today's world, someone would have waited a year before fighting again, or would have took on a few, smaller, opponents before getting into something big. And, just half a year later, you're in the ring with his brother, who, was going to try to go in there and take your head off to try to avenge his brother's loss. What did you think of getting that fight with Vladimir Klitschko?
Well, the thing with Vladimir, I honestly, their promoters became my promoter. They had options on me, and that's just the business of boxing. He was a champion, so I win. So they promote the next 4 fights of mine. And just so happened, Vladimir Klitschko is number 1 contender. Oh, I'm like, okay, I'm willing to face anybody. I don't care. Bring his brother on. But, going to fight, I'll fight Batali, then I fight Vladimir next. Is that how it's supposed to be set up? And this is what I'm thinking, because if Batali would have beat me, would he have fought his brother next? He was number 1 contender now. I don't think so. They elevated him number 1. So there was some shaky stuff going on. And like I said, I wanted to fight everybody, but, man, it was a torturous time after the title. It was nothing in my favor. Nothing at all. I might have been champion, but I didn't know when I was going to fight. I didn't know who I was going to fight. They played so many games with me. It was like, okay, we got to hurry and get our belt back. It's the business of boxing. I mean, I'm like, wow, for real. I mean, playing these games, and the thing with, and I take nothing away from Vladimir. It's not his fault. It wasn't his fault. He's just doing his job. When I fought Batali, Vladimir had 2 fights and an exhibition in the time that I was off. 2 fights in the exhibition. They told me I couldn't have an exhibition. They told me I couldn't do nothing with boxing. No boxing. I could spar, of course, but no matches or anything in front of people to get warm up. He had an exhibition, I think, maybe 4 weeks before we fought. An exhibition in front of a live crowd. He had 2 fights after me and his brother fought. So he been in the ring 3 times. I sat. And I'm like, serious? And the boxing commission and people are really allow this to happen while I just sit? That's how much they cared about me. So, and he beat me. He beat me fair and square. Beat me really good. And probably would have beat me anyway. But they were so worried that I guess it was going to crash the whole Klitschko party as far as if I beat Vladimir now, both of them, I mean, they're out of business. So, it's just wrong. My thing is I'm fair and square. And like I said, he beat me fair and square. He did it in the ring, but at least give me a equal opportunity to stay fresh and box also. I mean, and do something. Because, it's hard. That's a hard style. Vladimir Klitschko is a hard style anyway. And he's a good fighter. Anyway, I take nothing from him. I always feel I can whoop everybody. But, hey, he may have beat me anyway. So, but don't put me through torture just to get, my first title defense. And then, put me in this situation where, it's really not fair.
Back to backing up your statement of what you said earlier, how you bounced back after a loss. Again, within 10 months, you fought 2 guys, David Veteran and Maurice Harris, and you fight David Tua. who I thought, to be honest, was going to just, take your head off. And so when you fight a guy like David Tua, who was no joke, how did that feel going into a ring with another huge guy, with huge puncher, knocking everybody out? What was it like for you? Was it just another day? I mean, having all this experience of all these fighters, like fighting Ika Biabuchi, both the Klitschko brothers, and now fighting another big guy. Was it just another day in the office by that time?
Oh no, not heavens no, man. I see him go 12 rounds with Ike, and they fight literally in the trenches. I mean, banging it out, going back and forth, and
that was a war, yeah.
A war in the trenches. Fight could have went either way. Either way. I mean, it was close. I mean, it was so close. And, just being, wiser, not as cocky. I was inward cockiness. You can't hit me. These guys can't hit me with a handful of BBs. And then I got touched, by Ike. And then going into the David Tua fight, I was like this. He's not going to stop me from getting to where I'm getting to. If I win, I'm number one contender, mandatory. Lennox has to fight or give up the belt. So it's time to perform. I just truly think God just protected me, man. It was a lot of prayer went into it, and it was my time. I mean, it was just my time to have a great performance and redeem just a lot of stuff as far as, especially what Ike did to me. And losing to Vladimir Klitschko, it can kind of erase some of that and just go in there and put on a performance and be cautious. But at the same time, be in the battle. I didn't just, people thought I was going to run. I hurt David a couple of times to the body and just put on a performance. Just keep boxing, be smart, be alert, and, do what I do best in the ring. It was just a good fight and a great win for me. And afterwards, I just thank God for the victory, man. It was a special moment for me. Very special. That was, to me, one of my best ever performances, but just one of the highlights of my career. Because being number one mandatory fighting in line to fight a great champion like Lennox Lewis, who that's who I wanted more than any fighter in my era. Any fighter. Anyone, Lennox Lewis. Because he was the best. He was. And it was my time to get it. So I was like, man, I get a chance to fight Lennox Lewis.
Something I thought you did so great in the Tua fight. I mean, walking in, again, I just said, Tua's going to catch him somewhere in the later rounds or in the mid rounds. But something you did awesomely, which, nobody can, deny, is how you neutralize his power. I don't know what you did, but something that you did, you were doing right to neutralize his power. Did you feel his power? Did you kind of know that was a right game plan, whatever you were doing there?
Yeah, I mean, he's a strong guy. I mean, he's a very just powerful in punch. I mean, I felt everything, but I'm left-handed. And my game plan and my father, one thing is look at the Budweiser signs. There's Budweiser signs in the corners. Don't get caught in the corner. My father didn't want me to get caught in the corners at all. If you get on the rope, stay on there for a moment and slip out, but keep touching his shoulder. That's where his power coming from that jab in hand. It's the left hook that's going to knock you out. I mean, that's what he's setting you up for. So be aware of it. And if you keep touching that shoulder with my jab touch and keeping the jab, flicking jab in his face, but touching him at the same time as touching his shoulder, it throws off the momentum of him throwing the hook. So, and remember, I can't spin the way a southpaw like to spin a lot. I did it a few times, but to my right, it goes right into his hook. So, just be cautious of that. And one thing my lawyer told me was, David has a great chin, but he never been touched to the body. Nobody never touched him to the body. I throw really good body shots. That's one thing I throw in, and very few people. If you spar with me or fought me, I throw good body shots. I hurt him in, I think, the end of the 6th and the 10th round, and him to the body. And especially the 6th round, that's what I do combinations to his head because he was trying to cover his body up because I hit him to the body. So, just a tough block. He's a block and very powerful. I mean, I felt everything. I was like, man, I didn't feel that from Ike. I mean, I felt it from Ike because he caught me. I didn't feel nothing because I went down. But, like, prior to getting caught by Ike, I didn't feel that kind of power. He generates some major power. I mean, he just major power. And it would have been just like Ike, though. If he hit me on the butt, if he hit me on the chin, I'm going to sleep. It's just part of it. I was blessed never to get hit there. So, and I get the win. I eke it out. It was great.
You know, I know I sound like a broken record, and I keep bringing it up, but I just do it for people that need to understand that, you know, after like another year, you know, you fight again, and you fight this guy Jeff Pegas, and then you fight Evander Holyfield, man. I mean, you just back-to-back fighting these big legends that are, again, supposed to just take you out, or people think that they are, and then, you know, you go in there and do your thing again. What was it like to fight a legend like Evander Holyfield, who's had a stellar career that will easily be in the Hall of Fame without thinking twice about it? And, you know, what was it like to get a matchup with Evander Holyfield? What were your thoughts when you got that news?
Man. I mean, it was after Lennox Lewis, you know, gave up the belt. I'm number one contender, Evander Holyfield number two, and matchup. I'm like, wow, a guy I looked up to. I'm a huge Tyson fan, huge. I mean, since I was little, but I started becoming this huge Evander Holyfield fan. He's a Christian. He's a born-again Christian. I'm born-again Christian. So it's like, okay, my brother in Christ, we fight, and I look up to him. He's the reason why I went to heavyweight. Because in the Olympics, he was over in Barcelona, and I'm sizing him up. He's coming up to me, talking to me, telling me how good I was doing, and I'm sizing him up like, he's not that tall. You know, we're about the same height. He's muscular, of course, but he's not, like, big, you know, like a big heavyweight. Man, and when I finally made the decision to go up to heavyweight, man, I'm thinking of Evander Holyfield. So I'm in the ring with him. You know, it was like crazy. I thought I was dreaming. And if you know, the first round, he beat me. Because I'm like, man, this is Evander Holyfield. I'm supposed to be hitting him. it was crazy. And then I started getting into my groove. I'm like, okay, my father, I think he chewed me out in the corner, telling me, what you doing? And it was my time. Personally, I think I wish I could have fought him in his, like, prime peak. You know, I wanted to experience that, but any Evander Holyfield was great because he's a great, smart man in the ring, and it was it was my time, and it was a great win.
Both you guys, you know, what do you think his attitude was like towards you and yours towards him? You know, for the lead up for this fight, you know, you loving the sport of boxing, you obviously know Evander Holyfield, and he was in the Olympics in '84. You know, doing his thing as well. You know, how did you feel, or how did you guys react towards each other during, you know, the lead up to the fight or the press conferences?
Oh, it was always, you know, mutual respect. I mean, just respect, especially for me, because I know the whole '84 team. You know, and I give those guys like massive respect. You know, because I was 14 years old. I was a young, you know, guy looking up to all these guys, watching Evander Holyfield through his whole career, and then now it's my turn. So it was a lot of respect. And one thing about Evander, he come to all the amateur tournaments. I was in the finals of the U.S. Championships 5 years in a row. Every year he handed out the plaque and the medal to the champion or the runner-up, and I met him 5 years in a row. I always seen him every year. So he knew who I was, but he knew I was a little guy. It was a lot of respect from both of us because we both moved up from, you know, we were smaller guys in amateur, moving up to this big division, and now we're fighting each other. So it was a lot of respect, man. And, you know, for me, I respect him much more than he knows. Because everybody that was before me, I just give just major credit to, always. So it was just a blessing to be in the same ring with this man. You know, going back and forth. I can say I got hit by the great Evander Holyfield. not just beat him, but I got hit by him.
And you got that victory, you know, in a 12-round unanimous decision there in Atlantic City, New Jersey. Your next fight up is against Fresno Kendo. You beat him, then Galata, Then McCline, Galati got a decision. You beat McCline by split decision. These are all named guys. DeVaro Williamson as well.
Yeah.
These were all named guys, man. I mean, these are all guys that you fought, and you would think that you would think you'd get those little fights in between. You just went straight at the top guys.
Yeah, something like that, man. It was, it was tough. A lot of people were saying, man, you're the next guy. You're the best in the division. You're gonna do whatever. And I kind of forgot that how hungry you're supposed to stay when you're champion. Because it was my time. But these guys are hungrier than me. That's why they fight me tooth and nail to try to win the title. And I'm like, they don't look that hard when I watch them on tape. But man, this for the championship of the world. Everybody fighting above their own level. So, it was a great run. Fighting these guys, I'm friends with them, but they try to take my belt and take my head off. So, every fight was hard, and every fight was special to me also. I mean, it was a special time. I mean, defending belts and being on top and being champion, I mean, it's a whirlwind. It's something that every boxer as a kid dream of. I want to be in the Olympics. I want to win an Olympic medal, a gold medal at that. But a medal, be on that podium, and to be a world champion as a professional. That's the dream of every fighter. I mean, because that's the highest level of both amateur and professional. So I got to live both, and it was a blessing.
Towards the end of your career, you tried to go back down to, I believe it was light heavyweight, was one of the fights that I remember seeing you. And when I saw you, man, I couldn't believe it was you. I was like, what is that guy doing trying to go back to light heavyweight? What was the purpose to try to go back down in all these weights? Were you starting to lose weight? Were you doing a dietary thing? I mean, what was going on? What were your thoughts on trying to go back down?
Honestly, my thought was, for every person that thought, well, he's heavyweight and, he's the guy there, I just wanted to show, the boxing world that I fought at heavyweight, but I was never a heavyweight. I struggled to come in on higher weights every fight. Every fight was a struggle because I love training, so I would lose so much weight, and then I drink a lot of liquid. I would have sweats on the bottom. I take my shirt off for the media, but I have my pockets, my wallet, everything I could have on to make it look good when I get on the scale, to make me look like I'm 214 or 212 or 2 whatever. But really, when I got in the ring, my weight 214, I get in the ring at 204 because now I don't have to impress nobody. I don't have to eat as much. I don't have to drink much liquid, so I can just shrink up. And on Don King cards, we always weighed in the heavyweight on Thursday, so it's basically 2 days I got up. I lose a lot of weight right now, in a day, So I wanted to just show everybody at light heavyweight, it wasn't fighting a true heavyweight, but I did it the wrong way. I just ran my body to death. I weighed 174 pounds 5 weeks before I fought, which was crazy. Nobody does that.